Okay, so I had a conversation with one of my clients today about how to jazz up his diet and how to make clean foods and clean eating a bit more interesting with variety without breaking the diet. And that's the key. If we can eat healthy without breaking the diet and prevent cravings for foods that are possibly kind of off the diet list, then it's much easier to stick to. So what I've done is I've just come back from Aldi, spent £40, which isn't a huge amount of money, and that'll probably last me like 3 or 4 days worth of food. And in the choices I've got here, which I'm going to unpack in front of you, I'm going to show you some things that you probably already do, but some of you out there will probably not thought you could eat that. So, and that's the conversation I had with one of my clients. So I thought I'd show you all what I do. And this is in contest prep for a competition which I've got in over a week away, just so very short. And if it's clean enough for the peak week of a competition, it's definitely clean enough for everyday life. So, in no particular order, what have I got in here? So the first thing I've got here, you see they're burgers. Now a lot of people think, oh, I can't eat burgers, but if you look there, they're 5% fat. So they're like the 5% extra lean steak mince, but they're made into burgers. And for whatever reason, they just taste so much nicer. They're really easy to cook. I almost cook everything in the Ninja, which is like an air fryer. And everything kind of cooks in about 15 to 20 minutes. You haven't got to watch it. Everything's moist in the inside and crispy on the outside. It's great. The best thing I've ever bought. I do recommend you getting one. And if you don't want to clean it, because you're lazy, like, you just put a bit of foil in the bottom of it and it still works. So then get your food out, lob your foil, you ain't got to clean it every day. So what I would do with that, and if you're on a diet where you're eating low carbs, you can still have your burgers, but how do you have them without a bun? That's the question. Simple. So you cook your burgers, whether it's 1 or 2, these are about 100 grams each. And then you could add some tomato, some cucumber, some relish that you want to put inside there, some lighter than light mayo, or some sugar-free and low salt ketchup. Put that in and then use an iceberg lettuce leaf to make the bun, or to make the pretend bun, so it's like a lettuce wrap or a bunless burger. And a couple of these filled up with all your bits and pieces and your all your favourite bits that you have in a burger, without the guilt of the naughty fatty sauce and all the bread and the fried burgers and the chips. Makes a really nice end to a day. So I would have these. If you are allowed carbs in your diet, you can obviously have some carbs with them. You can buy obviously some sort of rice bread or gluten-free bread, or they do rolls now, and they almost do these in all of the supermarkets. So you can give yourself a gluten-free bun, put your burger in it with your lettuce, tomato, all the rest of it, and you've got a really good burger which kind of still hits your macros without being guilty. So that's them. Now what else have I got in here? So obviously, an old staple, chicken breast. These ones I buy are particularly thin. They're really slim cooked ones, 1% fat. Everyone knows how to cook chicken. Then we've got fish. So tonight I like to eat fish later in the evening because it's lighter and lower in calories. So I've got some. I always try and buy line caught cod, which is this one here. But then from time to time, to break up the flavour and to change it, you can get smoked fish as well. If you can get fresh line caught fish, that's always going to be better, because it's obviously caught in the wild rather than any fish being farmed. However, it's not always convenient because fish goes off really quickly. So I'll always have in the back of the freezer some frozen fish. Now I find that pretty much any frozen white fish is disgusting. When you cook it, it goes dry. It's just hard work, no matter if you cook it in a Ninja or what. So I have found the best alternative are these, which are just white bassa fillets. Now they taste kind of more like meat, I suppose, than fish when they're cooked, and they do stay moist. Obviously don't overcook fish, but make sure it is cooked, otherwise it will make you very ill. But bassa fillets are kind of my go-to if I've got to take something out of the freezer and cook it. You can obviously cook them from frozen, and that's what I choose for white fish. Now, going back to the red meat, if you look here, these are meatballs, and they're, again, look for the blue label, 5% fat. So these are all from Aldi. Everything's come from Aldi, and the reason I go there is just because they have a better choice of meat, and if you buy red meat from a supermarket, I think Aldi's probably the nicest. Like Tesco steaks, even if they're fillet steaks, sorry, Tesco's are just grim. Aldi steaks and red meat is very nice. But they also do these 5% burgers and meatballs. And again, you can make this yourself out of 5% mince, but if you've ever done your own burgers and made your own meatballs, they're just particularly dry. Not sure why these aren't so much, because it's almost exactly the same breakdown and macros. There isn't any added anything apart from the same as the 5% mince, but they're already balled up for you. And they're fantastic to cook, very easy to cook. And what else I'm going to show you, which you can also get from Aldi, and these are very close to spaghetti. Now they sell these in Aldi, if you can see them. So this is black bean spaghetti and the fettuccine made from edamame beans and mung beans. Now, if you look at the nutritional label on the back of them, I don't know if you can see that, but basically what you've got there in these is a super duper low carb, high fiber like ingredient to put with like your meatballs, or with your chicken or fish, or if you want to make a stir fry, or you want to make your take on, you know, spaghetti meatballs. So like for half of that pack, so that's a 200 gram pack, and obviously when that cooks it swells up loads, so you won't need half a pack. But if you was to eat a whole half a pack, 100 grams of this has only got 1.6 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fat, and 15 grams of protein, and that's very similar in both boxes. So they're really low carb and they're really low fat, and they've got a good amount of protein in, so they're great for vegans and vegetarians out there as well. And calorie wise, for half a pack's only 100 calories. So how about that? Really good, because they're high in fibre and they will bulk and fill your belly out, especially when you're not eating, or not supposed to be eating, too many calories later in the day if you're winding down. But they will prevent you then from going to have cravings later in the evening, because fibre is very slow to digest and it will have filled your stomach up. So do try them out, and they taste pretty good. Don't have to cook them for long, they just boil for about 5 or 6 minutes. Really, really easy. If I can do it, you certainly can. So what else have I got? So these are big arse red shrimp, or like tiger prawn type things, and they're already cooked, and these are handy to always have in the freezer. So if you're without food and you're in a rush, or you've got to prep something, or you're off somewhere the next day and you haven't got the meals in you, but you have got in your fridge, sorry, but you have got these in the freezer, you can literally just defrost them overnight and you're ready to go. If you put a bit of lighter than light mayo on them, salt and pepper, they're lovely. If you put a bit of the sugar-free ketchup with lighter than light mayo, that is how you make the prawn sauce. So you can do that as well. Great in salads, all the rest of it. All add it to the spaghetti for a low calorie, low carb evening snack or meal. So that's that option. Now, when I was having my steaks, what goes better with steak than chips? Nothing. So these are also from Aldi. Now I said to one of my clients, Yusil, about looking for these. I don't know if he has, but they are my go-to, and they're not low fat. They don't say they're low fat, but they are in fact low fat. So they're really big, thick oven chips, and they're like if you like, their speciality range, or like their posh range that they do at Aldi. But per 100 grams of these oven chips, which you can stick in the oven in about 20 minutes, or in my favourite Ninja, they have only got 3 grams of fat. And if you looked for the lowest other known oven chips, which are like the McCain's low fat oven chips, they're about 4.5 to 5.5 grams of fat per 100. So these are even lower than the so-called low fat chips. And the difference in taste is worldly, completely different. These are amazing. If I could eat these every meal, I would. It's that good. So I do recommend you have them. And if you have 100 grams of potatoes with your steak, it's got about 18 to 20 grams of carbs, so pretty low in carbs, nice and filling, but like psychologically you're having steak and chips. I mean, that is not dieting. So although you are dieting, if you're not broke the diet, and that I have every single evening on prep, and that is how I've been able to prep for so many competitions, because I'm not eating, you know, white fish and broccoli every single meal. I've got something to look forward to every day, and it's steak and potato. Or, you know, or here we've got burgers, fat 5% burgers, which are pretty much fatless burgers, and really low fat chips. So you're not breaking the diet, but you're breaking the taste buds, and you're giving yourself something that you might be craving and preventing you going out and having a big dirty burger and chips without any of the guilt. So that's what I recommend. What else have I got in here? Now, these are another one of my little tricks, and what I suggest to my clients that are on a diet and they're, you know, they've got a bit of a sweet tooth, they're looking for a dessert type thing, but obviously desserts and sugars are not on anyone's diet. But you know, if you're working with me, I do try and structure in, you know, a reward meal once every few weeks, or depends on your metabolism and your results. But, you know, we've all got to have a lifestyle and enjoy life. So food's one of these things that people enjoy. But if you can have food that you love without any guilt, and it's still making your figure or physique look fantastic, then that's all a win-win. So you get all of these. So these are 4 berry medley or frozen berries, and for 100 grams of that, which is quite a big, like a kind of 2-cup serving of frozen berries, you're looking at 0 fat and only 5 grams of carbs. So like, imagine having 2 cups of berries in a bowl, then buying yourself a 10-calorie strawberry jelly, putting that on top. Amazing. If the berries you buy a little bit sour or tart, then I would recommend putting some sweetener on. If you're going to use sweetener, I believe Truvia is probably the best one out there, which is, you know, not one of these real artificial ones. It comes from nature. So, you know, have a shop around for Truvia. They sell it in every supermarket as well. But that is a really low calorie, you know, dessert. So if you had, you know, 2 cups of this with your 10-calorie jelly, you're looking at 38 calories for the whole shebang. So literally could have that every night. How about that? What else have I got in here? Well, another berry or superfood is blueberries. Now, frozen blueberries are good because the problem with, you know, fruit and veg, it does go off and ripes really quickly, and before you know it, they've gone off in your fridge. But weirdly enough, if you didn't know this, frozen berries or frozen blueberries are lower in calories and carbs and the same equivalent in weight as fresh, oddly. So they're great if you're like cooking up some oats in the morning and you've got to put, you know, berries in it to, you know, for the flavour, because it's on your diet. I put them in a lot of people's diets because they are a superfood. But you've cooked your oats up, and the problem with it is it's boiling hot, especially if you cook it old-fashioned way on the stove, which is what I do it in a pan because it seems to go thicker, and I enjoy the oats as one of my probably favourite meals. But it's too hot to eat, and you throw in normal blueberries, fresh blueberries, still too hot to eat. So if you throw in frozen blueberries, lowering calories, lowering carbs, and yes, it cools the oats down within, you know, 30 seconds, so you're ready to go. And often we're all in a rush to shoot out the door in the morning, so that does help that. And they're never going to go off, easy to store in the freezer. So that's them. Now, just to show you some of the other things I've bought, they're not particularly like magical or low calorie or anything different, but these are just the staples of what I would suggest everyone buy to go with their diets. It's any of my clients, and that's asparagus. It's a really good food and helps with, you know, you excreting water. And one of the superfood vegetables is kale, and black kale is even more better in that respect, and they sell this in Aldi as well. Now, you can boil that or stick it in the microwave, and with a bit of salt and black pepper, and comes out lovely. It even comes out really well if you cut it up and put it in your air fryer, and you can get it to come out like crisps. It goes really crispy, so you can have a texture of a crunch without the guilt of a crisp. So there's something else to try there. Now what else have I got here? So obviously everyone knows about having nut butters, and you know, they're a healthy fat to put into your diet. Almond butter is definitely, in my opinion, one of the better nut butters to have. It's one of the highest in protein, but it's not the highest in carbohydrates. So things like cashew nuts or cashew nut butter and peanut butter are fairly high in carbohydrates as well as fat. And in fact, them two nuts aren't actually from the nut family, they're from the legume family. And for a lot of people, them two nuts cause inflammation and problems similar to gluten does in many. So if you ever eat nuts and you feel you bloat from them, it's probably that you're eating them nuts. And if you move to walnuts, Brazils, almonds, you're eating from the actual nut family. So you're going to get none of them associated reactions. So I would always advise my clients, if you are allowed fats in your diet, and I do think healthy fats are important, then to go for an almond butter. What else have I got that's interesting? Nothing else of importance there, apart from a hell of a lot of eggs. So eggs are, you know, a bodybuilder's staple for breakfast, egg whites, whole eggs, that kind of thing. I normally would say to clients to have like 3 or 4 egg whites to 1 whole egg as your ratio if you're going to have eggs as a meal. So you can make an omelette with like 2 or 3 eggs and maybe, you know, another 4 or 8 egg whites depending on your size and the size of your omelette. And that way you're eating nice and healthy, low fat foods without any of the guilt, a variety of taste and change. Hope this helps some of you stick, you know, some variety into your diet and keeps you steering away from the old chicken and rice. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just showing you that there's some other foods out there that you can eat without breaking your diet.